Morning. It's Thursday, January 4th, and I just finished reading an article that was sent to me by my friend Fred. And the recent automotive strike apparently raises concerns about the long-term viability of the U.S. auto industry. So in this article, they talk about the wages and the productivity that is involved in union representation and the after effects of strikes, etc. And so one of the statements that was made in this article was that every year everyone wants a raise, and every year our healthcare costs go up. And where is this money going to come from to give out these raises? Well, it's going to come from productivity. But the unions don't see it that way. The unions don't see the fact that when they get these increases in wages, they're expected to produce more somehow or other, and that's really humanly almost impossible. Because how can you produce more and more and more and work the same 40-hour week? You can. And that leads to companies figuring out ways to create productivity with the same workforce, or maybe even with a smaller workforce. Because if you look around, you're getting a raise, but everything around you is going up. Healthcare costs are going up. Food costs are going up. So what did unions do? What did management do? They turned to robotics or something like that to increase productivity. So in the end, the strike, which does short-term benefits to its union members, but long-term, it affects the viability of the corporation, the management, the owners. Now, when the union gets raises, so does management. So this situation that we have to fight for a decent living constantly is not very good. And if you look at the union situation in this country, it's way, way down. The union population is probably about 12% of the working force. And a lot of those unions are government unions. Postal workers, tax collectors, those kinds of people are unionized too. But they don't go on strike. Right? They belong to the union provides them with certain benefits. Now, when I was a kid growing up, I was a very left-wing family, and I belonged to a union. And the first time I got fired from a union job. And people think when you have a union job, you can't get fired. But I got fired from a union. And I got fired because they didn't like me in the job that I was working, and they gave me crazy hours to work. I was 18 years old and wasn't sure what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And maybe I told you this story before, but I'm telling it again. So I'm working for Miles Shoe, and the boss didn't really like me, so he put me on a special shift. I came in at 10 in the morning and I worked till 6 or 6:30, something like that, while everybody was coming in at 8 o'clock. So I really liked that. He thought he was punishing me because I wouldn't get home early, whatever. So anyhow, it was Friday night and I'm the last employee in the building, and a truck comes in loaded with merchandise, and it has to be unloaded, and the only people there are me and the assistant manager. Everybody else is gone for the day. So the assistant manager says, "We got to work on that truck." And I said, "I'm not working on that truck because at 6:30 I'm going home." And that's what I did. I went home. And when I came back from work on Monday morning, when I came back to work, they told me I was fired. The union didn't do anything for me. They accepted the fact that I disobeyed the orders and I was fired. But what do you think I did? I went down to the union hall, and in 2 days later, I had a better job. So getting fired is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. So getting back to the labor costs associated with the car, Labor cost is not the big deal that people think it is. So in reality, the employee salaries that are put into the car is barely 7% of the cost of making a car. The materials that are necessary to put a car together, the engine, the steel, the leather, all of those things are never considered when people think about talking about the cost of a car. Labor is only about 7% the cost of making a car. So it's no big deal if the labor union get themselves a good deal. You have a lot of people getting paid a lot of money and you can't produce it any faster than you have in the past. And so the strikes, while they may benefit employees in the short term, they don't benefit the industry, the auto industry. The workers at Tesla are making about half of what the workers at the UAW will make. How come Elon Musk can get a workforce at that level and produce a car and have a profitable business? It probably has to do with automation in some way, shape, or form. And that can be, I'm sure that's a piece of it, but also remember that Elon refuses to have a union in his shop. He has fought unionization from the very beginning of his empire building. So right now, my opinion is that they strike one, they got salary, but I don't know where this leaves them in the future. I don't know what they gain for the future. Strike. And so I don't know what the real benefit of the auto strike was, because you work for a certain amount of money, and when you go on strike, you lose that money. So if you're out of work for 4 or 5 months, or 3 or 4 weeks, or whatever the number is, well, then you have to recover. And the raise is not going to recover that money for you in the short term. Well, I'm not so sure that unions and companies that allow unions are necessarily the best places to work. And I had a company and we didn't have a union employee, but we treated our employees well, very, very well. And so they stayed with us through thick and thin. So there are other ways to keep workers happy without unions. So it's very important to have what I will call a happy workforce. Because happiness in the workplace leads to productivity. And productivity is a critical element in this entire discussion. So no matter what you do, you must always keep an eye on whether or not this will really affect productivity. So people can make more money as long as they maintain their productive lives at the office or the shop or the manufacturing floor. Productivity is the key word in this situation. Businesses cannot survive without continuing to maintain a solid production force. And it doesn't matter whether you're producing a car or whether you're writing some reports or you're doing whatever you're doing. Productivity is the key word in this situation. And companies watch that. And having a union does not mean you will be a productive workforce. So I leave you with that. Have a great day. And if you're still working, be productive. Take care.